There was a time in the mid to late 2000s where you couldn't move for Guitar Hero and Rock Band games, often quite literally. Ow! Who the heck put this drum kit here? I think I broke my toe. Everyone and their brother, dog, and a strange cousin could be found taking up a plastic peripheral and shredding chords as hard as they could, to a soundtrack provided by some of the world's biggest artists. Whether you were musically inclined yourself or just wanted to get in on the rhythmic multiplayer action, it's likely you've come into contact with one of these popular titles at some point in your life. Rhythm games have always been and continue to be popular, however. Rock Band and Guitar Hero reach a lot more people than most others, admittedly, but that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that are worth playing. And so, for this list, we're here to highlight some of the best rhythm games out there. Regardless of your skill level and musical tastes, there's sure to be something that appeals to your personal groove. I'm resident virtuoso Ashton from TripleJump, and here are 10 great rhythm action games that aren't Guitar Hero or Rock Band. Number 10, Ragnarock. I bet you thought the obligatory VR title on this list was going to be Beat Saber, didn't you? I see you there, don't try to hide. Of course, that's still very much recommended, but if you want a bit of a change of scenery and more varied colour palette, then why not take a look at Ragnarock? This Viking drumming experience puts players at the helm of a ship and has them encouraging their crew by hammering in time to the beat. The more correct notes, the faster the boat goes, and if you're feeling especially confident, there's even an option for multiplayer. There are about 60 songs to choose from across a variety of content packs, ranging from compositions unique to the game to tracks by well-known bands such as Nightwish, The Offspring and Dragon Force. Though not the song you're thinking of. If you still want more, the game also allows for custom songs. So our previous statement was a lie, and that Dragon Force song can be available to play if you have an especially strong desire to dislocate an elbow. The game focuses on rock and power metal, so may not be to everyone's tastes, but if you don't mind getting down with the sickness, you're sure to enjoy yourself with this one. And on that note, number 9, Metal Hellsinger. The face-melting metal extravaganza Metal Hellsinger combines Doom 2016 with well-known figures from the world of metal music. The most universally recognisable arguably being Serj Tankian of System of a Down fame. Players take control of the Unknown, a demon who has lost her voice and is battling her way through the various levels of hell in order to retrieve it. She's accompanied by narrator Skull Paz, who doubles as a weapon and collects all sorts of other firearms and throwables along the way. It's like someone took Ariel from The Little Mermaid and plopped her in a world that's part Dante's Inferno, the 14th century poem, not the rubbish 2010 game, and part Doom, which is truly the mashup we never knew we needed. A particularly interesting feature of the game is a layering of tracks, which means that more shots performed on the beat, the more the music builds. Players can keep tabs on this via their Fury meter, and each time the multiplier increases, new elements are added, with vocals being the last layer. While the main story is fairly short, there are challenges, known as torments, which throw the player into an arena and allow them to unlock upgrades once they've been completed. In addition, there are several different difficulty modes that can be changed at any time, giving players the option to make hell feel even more hellish. Number 8, Taiko no Tatsujin series. Grab hold of those drumsticks and prepare to beat the heck out of something. A drum. Please beat the heck out of a drum. Nothing else. Yikes. Taiko no Tatsujin, or Drum Master if you were to translate it, originated in arcades in 2001. As it gained more and more popularity, it was released a load of times for handhelds, home consoles, and even mobile, leaving the series with a grand total of over 40 games so far if you count both international and Japan exclusive releases, which we do. Unsurprisingly, there's a great deal of variety across all of these titles. While some feature just single-player drumming modes, others have featured party play, capsule toy games and quiz modes, and story modes with random encounters, ensuring that there's always plenty to hit. Experience. The number of songs can vary pretty significantly depending on the format, ranging anywhere from a meagre 29 to a whopping 150. However, all games do share a variety of genres to choose from, though J-pop, anime and game themes, Namco originals and classical music tend to be mainstays. If you have a strong urge to headbang to Beethoven, and I know I do, this is certainly the best way to do it. Number 7, Thumper. Have you ever wished that you could combine the rhythm action genre with high-octane racing? Well, then I commend you for having quite specific imagination. That's quite the combo. If the answer to that question does happen to be a yes, then Thumper has you covered. Dubbed a rhythm violence game by the developers, players take control of a space beetle and guide it along a track on its way to defeat its ultimate nemesis, Giant Space Face. However, this is easier said than done, as the bug is only durable enough to sustain 2 points of damage, which is caused by offbeat notes before having to restart the stage. Thumper is also available in VR, if for some reason you feel like giving yourself motion sickness, though the gameplay is somewhat different. While players are still tasked with manoeuvring the little beetle that could along the track, glowing bits of floor and wall will appear before them, testing their reaction time alongside their ability to keep rhythm. Occasionally, players will get to face off against the game's bosses, with the hard-shelled hero building up their combo and releasing a blast of power every so often. A mechanic that makes the combat feel slick yet satisfying, though it does put me in the mood for some grubs, Timon and Pumbaa style. Number 6, a dance of fire and ice. While at first glance it looks as though it may not take much to master, A Dance of Fire and Ice, unaffiliated with George R.R. Martin's unfinished saga, is deceptively difficult. If you like your musical experiences to have more of a puzzly feel about them, then this 2019 title is sure to both intrigue and infuriate you. This straightforward seeming rhythm game sees players take control of 2 differently coloured dots, or planets if you want to get technical about this, as they make their way through a variety of universes. Each world teaches new concepts and combinations that allow the gameplay to be mixed up in all sorts of ways. It admittedly starts quite simply, with regular beats and offbeats, but later levels introduce different, quicker rhythms, which are sure to keep players' fingertips on their, toes. The game does end up becoming devilishly tricky, but the sense of satisfaction if you persevere is worth all of the effort. If you fancy giving it a try before you commit, there is a browser demo available. Just know that we aren't responsible if you find yourself needing a new keyboard in the next few days. Consider yourself warned. Number 5, Samba de Amigo. Another game that started life in arcades, Samba de Amigo is also a peripheral-based affair. Whoa, calm down. These particular peripherals are small enough to fit in a drawer, so don't worry about cluttering up your house. This maraca-based game, brought to Dreamcast in 2000, takes a lot of inspiration from Latin American culture. While it focuses primarily on pop tunes rather than actual samba music, it encourages players to dance along in a way that many other instrument-based games don't. In order to match the rhythm of the motion, players need to shake their maracas at various heights and in time with the music, sometimes having to strike a specific pose very quickly to keep their combo going. It even saw renewed interest sometime after its release, as there was a Wii port in 2008. That particular version didn't fare quite as well as the original though, thanks to the controls being less responsive than the Dreamcast peripherals, but it does allow your Mii to dance along in the corner. Despite being stuck on consoles of the past, Samba de Amigo is a fun little oddity that is worth seeking out. And who knows, maybe there'll be a Switch version one day. I wouldn't hold your breath though. Number 4, Demo Reborn. Despite seeming as though it has a far too complicated concept to emulate on consoles, somehow everything with Demon Reborn works remarkably well. Originally a mobile title released in 2013, the game made its way to PC, Switch and PlayStation 4 6 years later. It was probably best played on PC to be honest. They do come with their own keyboards after all. You know, like the musical keyboards. They're basically electronic pianos? Get it? The story follows Alice, a young girl who's fallen through a trapdoor to a strange world. She meets mysterious figure Demo, who attempts to help her escape, and as they play tunes on the piano, a tree sprouts and grows towards the trapdoor, eventually allowing Alice to escape back to her real life. Each set of 5 or so keys on the piano corresponds either to the middle row of letters on the computer keyboard or any given button on the controller. Players are also able to adjust the speed of the notes along the screen anywhere from half the original rate to 9.5 times as fast, depending on how much of the skin on your fingers you're willing to sacrifice. Beats having to play piano for Sander Cohen, I suppose, but only just. Number 3, Guitaru Man. Largely ignored when it first appeared on the PlayStation 2, Guitaru Man is probably the closest we've come to a Guitar Hero-like experience on this list, because it features a guitar, and well, that's pretty much where the comparison ends. Released in 2001 in Japan, and the next year for folks in North America and Europe, the story told by this slightly oddly titled game is a classic one. Protagonist U1 is constantly being overshadowed in front of his crush by rival Kazuya, until one day he uses the magical guitar he received from his talking dog to defeat the prince of an invading alien empire and gain confidence. Wow, I went from 0 to 100 really fast. Anyway, in order to play the Gitaru, as the instrument is called in the game, players will need to either move the stick along a path or hit the button that corresponds to the prompt on screen once it reaches the centre of the crosshair. Since each performance is also a fight, these simulate attacking and blocking respectively, and will strike the opponent and either harm or heal U1 depending on how well the player strums along. Music really can soothe the savage beast after all, it seems. Or rather, music really can hurt the savage alien minion. I think my version of that saying is much better. Number 2, Parappa the Rapper. PlayStation star Parappa the Rapper made his debut in Japan in 1996 and toured the world the year after, becoming an instant sensation who is still fondly remembered to this day. He got a sequel, a spin-off, both a port and a remaster, and even a TV series, which is really quite impressive for a little paper dog. Generally considered to be one of the first ever rhythm games, as well as one of the best games ever made, this classic is still well worth seeking out. It sees the titular aspiring musician rapping his way through a variety of levels in order to impress the girl he has a crush on. Again? I suppose it was the 90s. Had complex storylines been invented by then? Probably not. As Parappa progresses from karate lessons, the esteemed venue of the queue for the toilet, players have to help him rap his way to greatness by pressing the buttons that correspond to the prompt on the screen. The meter showing just exactly how you rapping at any given moment can either be a huge ego boost or a hit to morale, depending on just how well you're getting on with the Chop Chop Master Onion and his QTE martial arts. Just remember, it's all in the mind. And number 1, Crypt of the Necrodancer series. The incredibly popular rhythmic dungeon crawler, Crypt of the Necrodancer, is well known for its stellar soundtrack and gameplay. Players take control of Cadence, the daughter of a famous, now missing treasure hunter, and hop around various dungeons in time to the beat. Along the way, they must kill rhythm-savvy enemies and collect treasures. Because it's a roguelike though, any riches are lost if you're defeated, but you'll be too busy boogieing to be mad about it. The game is so popular that even Nintendo have gotten in on the action, and in 2019, a Legend of Zelda crossover title, Cadence of Hyrule, was released. This fully separate game has players taking control of Cadence, Link and Zelda at different points, while proceeding through a number of familiar themed dungeons. It's been a little while now since either title was released, almost 8 years for the original if you can believe it, but we may not have to wait too long for another entry in this series, as Rift of the Necrodancer was announced in August 2022. Given the franchise's name, it's not surprising we're getting a sequel. This is one series that is sure to be resurrected every so often for years to come.